What is going on, Boiler Nation? It's Thursday night. It's February 29th, 2024. Yes, February 29th.
Happy leap
It's
year.
leap day, leap year. Only comes
Whatever,
once
yeah.
every 4 years. My question to you, Webby, is first off, do you know anybody with a leap year birthday?
Twitter told me it was Tyrese Halliburton's birthday today. That's the only. But in terms of my personal life, no, I don't think I do.
I think I graduated with a girl in high school that had a leap year birthday. And I was always curious, do leap year babies celebrate on February 28th or March 1st?
If I would have done, I probably would just do February 28th.
Yeah. Just keep it in the actual month.
Just keep it in the month,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it matters what time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember what she did. I want to say she celebrated hers in February, but I could be way wrong. But anyways, happy leap year, happy leap day, whatever you want to call it to everybody out there if you celebrate that sort of thing. Cheers to you. Want to give a big thanks to good friend of the podcast, Aaron Lynch, last week for filling in for me and Andrew, since Andrew couldn't help with the podcast last week either. Thought you guys did a good job. Very entertaining, like always. And it's always tough to talk about a loss, especially a loss of that caliber at Ohio State, who's playing a lot better as of late. So,
for you, I know you were in what was it? I guess when it happened, it wasn't sunny, but you were in the sunshine state of Florida during the game. You said it was kind of a crappy day.
It was like 59 that day and rainy. The whole time that week, it finally got in the 70s towards the end of the week, but it was chilly for Florida standards last week. But still, it was sunny most of the week, and sunny 65 hits better than a sunny 35, 45, whatever it may be up here. So, but no, I was at my wife and I stayed at some of her relatives living out and down in Florida, so we stayed with them, and I was on my best behavior during the loss, which my wife was even like, "You're putting on a show. You're acting. There's no way you'd be behaving like this at home." And I want to say, "Yeah, you're right," but I don't know.
Yeah, it's I'm sure for many people, the watching Purdue, especially football games, I'm a little better at things because football games, are kind of slower paced and all that. But with basketball games, there's probably I'd say probably less than 10 people I am comfortable watching a Purdue basketball game with. One being like our friend groups, or even though most of them aren't Purdue fans, just because at least
some of them I might punch now.
Yeah.
Compared to 5 years ago.
My biggest problem is always like watching with people who and if you don't care what do, I don't care. Like that's fine. Like you don't have to know, but it's just like it's the me trying to watch the game and I'm in it, and then people are just talking. They don't care about you, which is fine, but like don't talk to me. If you're not going to pay attention, because I just want to sit in my dark room with all the lights down and watch the game and stress out by myself. But there's like our friend group, obviously my parents, my wife puts up with it somehow. She's learned. Yeah, no kidding. But other than that, it's tough. I had to watch the Texas Tech Sweet 16 game in 2018 with some people who didn't go to Purdue and didn't really care. And I was just like, I wanted to sink into the couch as much as I possibly could because it was miserable.
I don't like. I'm getting right there with you. The older I get, my group's getting smaller and smaller to watch.
Yeah.
Just because it's not that. There's certain games I do act pretty bad. The Northwestern game this year, even though we won, I acted pretty bad. And I've already warned my wife that Saturday I can be pretty animated just because of who we play. The next two games because of who we play. Michigan State, Illinois. I might be a little fired up.
I want to have the house to myself for the Michigan State game. So. You're from the north side of Indy, and you hear loud screaming, it's probably me. And then Illinois game, I'm gonna have to be. I've got to go to Missouri for a work thing, and I'm gonna be around my boss and coworker who are huge Illinois fans. So I'm just like hoping we got this thing wrapped up, so I can just not really care, or at least act like I don't care on the outside, and on the inside I'll be screaming, and I'll go to my room and punch the wall. But yeah,
that's a Peacock game, Illinois.
It is, yeah.
But before we go any further, I need to mention to everybody that we are part of Big Banter Sports Network. Pumped to be their Purdue affiliate for Purdue football and basketball. Evan, a few weeks ago, joined their Big Ten Huddle, which is their weekly podcast. I was invited last week, but being in Florida, I politely declined. But look for me, hopefully, sometime in March. hopefully I'm on there chatting it up, whether it be football or basketball. I don't know which one I might appear on. So
I
keep
know
on
they're
looking.
thinking about they're thinking about doing during the tournament. I think having all the winners of the day hop on, which would be a cool
Okay,
thing. So
that would be nice.
hopefully we're on there a few times.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, pumped to be a part of their network and chatting up with all the other. I don't know how many. I don't think they have the full 18 school
Mhm.
slate filled yet, but I think at least up to 15. I know USC's on board. They got the USC affiliate.
Mhm.
I'm not sure about Oregon, Washington, or UCLA yet, but they got time. They got time to get those guys in the mix. So
Mhm.
got a couple comments here. Dick here on YouTube earlier today said Boiler up, Dick as always. Ray Davis on Facebook says he watches with his son Brock. Yes, you remember playing against Brock in intramurals, Webby, in
I
college?
do. Yeah,
Yes,
I do.
one of our many losses.
Jeez, the other question, I had to think too hard if we lost that game or not because
Um,
we lost every game.
we yeah
Yeah.
we our flag football record was a little better than our
Oh
basketball
yeah.
record. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But
We played hard
since
though. That's all
we
that matters.
like your shirt says,
Yeah.
play hard,
Yep.
get it at the shop there in
Mhm.
Indianapolis, which we'll talk more about that later. But since we last recorded a podcast, or you, I should say, recorded a podcast, Boilers had a good week last week. Bounced back
Mhm.
with 2 wins, took care of Rutgers at home, handily took care of Rutgers at home, and then went up to Ann Arbor, a game I was, for some reason, really worried about, probably just
Oh, I
because
was too.
we dropped
Yeah.
one in Columbus the week before, taking
Yeah.
on last place in the Big Ten, Michigan, and took care of business in what was kind of like Mackey North.
Yeah. Really incredible showing by Boiler Nation, which was really cool to hear on TV of just realizing like actually I knew going into the game that there was a good contingent, like just seeing stuff on Twitter and message boards and all that. But yeah, when like some of those big shots happened, it was like, holy crap, that sounds like it's a like a game at Mackey. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, that Michigan game, I was worried about it just because again we had dropped Ohio State, similar situation, and we hadn't played against Doug McDaniel this year because he couldn't make the road trip when they came to Mackey when I think Purdue won by like 28 or 30. And again, it's one of those things where they're a team that's got talent that just hasn't figured it out. And, sometimes the right situation pops up where it all comes together, and it's usually against a top 5 team when they come to their place. And they put up a good fight. It's just, Purdue just warmed down and with Big Z, and it got a little tight there, but Purdue never really. I mean, they kind of kept them at arm's length the whole second half, really. But yeah,
Yep.
going back to Rutgers, that was the game because Purdue had struggled for a couple of games. Even though they had won some, they didn't look great in all of them. And I was like, this is going to be because there's the whole thing. People were freaking out of like, this is just like last year, and it's the carbon copy, yada yada. And I was like, I wasn't panicking after the Ohio State loss. Like, I will. The Rutgers game is going to tell me a lot because one, it's a team that Purdue struggles against just in general. Like even up in Rutgers, like they're not a great team, but Purdue won, but it was a tough game. It's just Peichel plays Painter really, really well. But I was like, if Purdue can take care of business, and not saying Purdue had to blow them out, but like if Purdue, as long as Purdue wasn't fighting for their life at the end, I would have been feeling pretty good compared to, if they had lost or, squeaked out a win, I'd be like, okay, maybe there's some cause for concern. But man, I mean, was it the Ken Palm second-rate defense, and Purdue just blew their doors off.
Just took it to them. I mean, outscoring first half 52-33, then second half 44-35 for a total score of 96-68. And that score is probably closer than the game really was, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned, Peichel has done a good job going up against Painter. And he has, but I think we can kind of put the narrative that Rutgers has Purdue's number to bed because Purdue's won 3 straight against them now.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean,
yeah, I guess going back to the Big Ten because obviously they won in Mackey last year, but then we got them in the Big Ten tournament.
Right.
Yep, and then obviously 2 times this year.
Yep.
And they're having a down year, and obviously they lost Mawat Mag again, at least for the Purdue game they did, which was kind of what caused their slide last year where they missed the tournament. Or with him, they were definitely a tournament team, but just he was a big piece of their defense. But yeah, Purdue it started out, they were hitting shots. Rutgers was anyways. It was kind of kind of going back and forth. There was the 2 weak weak technicals, where Rutgers got it first, and then Cam Heide, which we completely forgot to Ted Berge on here. Rutgers this year just can't shoot. They shot pretty well, at least in the first half against at least what was the kid's name? I'm blanking on his name. But he kind of hit some shots really early. Who was it? It was Fernandez. Yeah, Fernandez. He kind of got hot early. But then in came Cam Heide, and what a game!
Heide game.
He had. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Points, 7-7 shooting, 4-4 from behind the arc. That'll do. 19 minutes.
An incredibly athletic play that kind of got. I mean, I saw it making its rounds on the internet, but where he jumped, and did a reverse layup. But when you actually rewatch it, he jumps like a foot outside the paint, and then is still able to make it to underneath the basket to do a reverse. Very Jordan-esque, as the people were doing a side by side of one of Jordan's famous layups. But just some crazy athleticism.
Ray Davis here with a good question on Facebook. I'm not sure of this off the top of my head, Webby, but he said, "What Big Ten coach has the best record against Painter?"
I'd have to guess, just because of longevity, be Izzo.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, like, you probably have to go. I mean, I'm sure Mata had a really good record against Paint.
Yeah, he did.
Beeline definitely did.
I think it's probably Izzo. But...
Current coach is just simply due to just how long. I mean, he's been around ever since Painter came in. So,
Purdue has won 7 of the last 10 against Michigan State.
I heard you say on the old Gold Show, part of the Field 68 Network, that Michigan State has not won in Mackey in a decade.
We were college students. It was.
I said, yeah. I was like, dang, that was so long ago, and I was like, oh my god, we were in school.
I remember that well because I missed that game. I had a statistics exam that night,
and
I was
2014.
Yeah, 13-14 season. There's a 14, but I remember I was more mad because I was going to miss bobblehead night, and it was Big Dog Glenn Robson bobblehead night. But one of my roommates and his now wife got me the bobblehead anyways. That's right.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
there was one year, I don't know if it was that same year, but I had an exam as well. And I remember walking over with our good buddy Aaron Lynch. We walked over after we sprinted because
I think it was that same year because mine was later that night.
Yeah, because my exam ended right after right around tip off, and we sprinted with our backpacks. I'm not sure how the hell we got into Mackey with our backpacks, but we sprinted to Mackey and watched us lose.
Lost 94-79 that year. Gary Harris was on that Michigan State team, if that tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Ted Berkey's asking best as in most wins or best percentage.
I'd say probably best.
It contains a loss to UCLA in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think probably best percentage.
Yeah,
win percentage. Yeah, I would say it's got to be Izzo.
Yeah, I would think so too. Going back to the Rutgers game, besides Cameron Heide stealing the show, Zach Edey doing what Zach Edey does. Only 27 minutes of play since the game was out of reach. Zach had 25 points, 7 or 8 from the field, 11 for 11 from the free throw line. No double for Big Z. He only had 7 rebounds that night, off night on the boards. Other guys who were in double-digit scoring, Lance Jones, 17 points, 7 for 14 shooting, 3 from 8 from behind the arc. Braden Smith, 13 points, 5 for 10 from the field, 1 for 2 from behind the arc. He also had 7 rebounds and 5 assists. Nobody else got double digits, but Mason Gillis had 9 points off the bench, 3 for 5 shooting, all of those on 3-pointers.
Ted Berkey makes a good point.
People are 100% against Purdue. You're right.
It's true. That is true.
You're right. And you will probably end 100%, even though he's doing a great job. I don't think he'll end up getting the job. But let me check the score. Last time I looked, they were beating Nebraska late in a tight one. They extended it. Ohio State's up 10 with 1:11 left. Nebraska's got to play themselves out of the NCAA tournament because they can't win on the road.
Well, they can, just only in one location, and that's Bloomington.
Good point. They'll probably make the tournament, but my goodness, you need to win a road game once in a while. And there's no way. John Beeline the other night,
oh my God,
compared him to his 2018 Michigan team that was national runner-up. No, because
Yeah.
if you can't win away from your home court, you're not going neutral games. So,
They have one opportunity left, and it's the last game of the season, and it's at Michigan. So,
no, they better take
yeah.
advantage of that one because if you lose that one, you might be on
Yeah,
the
you
wrong
might.
side.
Yeah, you might. Yeah.
But overall, it's just nice to see Purdue take care of business of Rutgers. And
Really, the only like kind of downside again was it was a struggle game for Fletcher Lawyer.
yes,
2 points came from the free throw line. Oh, I mean, he only took 2 shots,
right.
both threes. He did have 5 assists, so he was able to impact the game outside of scoring. He did have a steal. Trey only had 2 points. He only played 16 minutes, though, probably due to Cam Heide and Mason Gillis. I mean, Mason Gillis was 3 of 5 from three. So yeah, it was nice to see someone from the bench outside of Mason Gillis contribute, because it's kind of been the theme, the last handful of games of the only person who scores out of the bench is Mason. But yeah, it was nice to see. And the cool thing, and what Painter talked about after the game, was with Cam. It was, it's easy for a guy who doesn't play that much, and maybe hits his first shot or two, for them just to start chucking or doing things outside themselves, and he never did anything outside there. It was just like, oh, he's lucky to make that, or it was outside. He never played outside the system, so it helps. Also, he's been on the team already for a whole year, redshirting last year. But man, he was awesome to watch.
Ray Davis says on Facebook here, Izzo's 14-9 against Painter.
Wow,
yeah, that would be it. That's crazy to think. Painter's won 7 the last 10 matchups against. Yeah. Yeah, and it was nice to see Miles Colvin come in and get 5 points in 5 minutes of action. He's not afraid to shoot it when he gets in, so he can fill it up in a hurry. That's for sure. That's for sure. Because I'm sure this year has been tough on him mentally. Even though he knows, there's a huge end goal in sight. Because even when you show what you can do in little minutes, there turns around at Michigan, doesn't get any minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just it's got to be hard to be a coach. It's a good problem to have, this much talent, this much depth, but it's got to be tough because you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah,
it's game situations too.
Yeah, game to game, it's playing the long game of knowing after this year there's going to be a ton of shots that are going to be available with Edey leaving. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, especially because he was obviously coming pretty hyped, and it's also just his bloodline too helps with that. But yeah, I think also too, I mean, part of it too is just, he's got to be able to play defense, and that seems to be an area that could be lacking. And it's not like we're, desperate to play someone like him right now, thankfully. So like you said, it's a good problem to have. And often it's not even an indictment on the player, but just more of like someone else is playing better.
Yep.
So.
Yep, but you just gotta, I'm not even gonna try to speak it into existence or worry about it too much since it's only February 29th. But you just gotta hope with the world of NIL and the portal and everything that players can look in the future and see their opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, yes, the game up at Ann Arbor, Purdue took care of business against the last place team in the Big Ten, the Michigan Wolverines, by a score of 84-76. Zach Edey was the headline getter in this game, like he has been so often in the last 2 years. 35 points, 15 rebounds, and 38 minutes of play. 14 for 18 from the field, 7 for 11 from the free throw line. Just flexing his dominance, showing his dominance once again, why he's going to be the National Player of the Year for the second consecutive year.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, Michigan kind of came in. Obviously, they lost one of their bigger guys. I'm blanking. I couldn't say his name anyways. Pronounced. So they went into it kind of shorthanded at the big man position. And, right away, he got Terrace Reed with 2 quick fouls. And then Shetter came in and just thought was felt bad for the kid. He was just dying by the end of the first half. It was just... probably nothing more apparent. I haven't seen a game like that where it's just the toll that Edey takes on people. It was never more apparent than that game, just because
what happens when you guard him 1-on-1.
Yeah, they had to. I mean, they had to keep Shetter in there because they didn't have anybody else to throw at him. And
Jackson came in. He had 4 fouls himself. So I mean, they just could not. They didn't have the bodies.
Yeah, but it was. He's just. Man, the big dog ate.
Yes, he did. He was awesome. Showed some emotion. Other guys in double figures, there's only two others. Lance Jones, 15 points, 6 for 12 shooting, 3 for 7 from behind the arc. Braden Smith, 11 points, 3 for 14 shooting, 1 for 5 from behind the arc. So not his best game shooting, but he had 11 assists, 8 rebounds. Oh, so close to that triple-double that he's been knocking on the door quite a few times on this season. Other guys scoring, Trey Kaufman-Rim, 4 points, but he had 3 rebounds. Fletcher Lawyer, 9 points. Nice to see him finally hit some shots in the second half. And he hit another 3 that didn't count due to a foul.
Yeah.
3 for 8 shooting, 1 for 5 from behind the arc. But as Matt Painter said on his podcast with John Rosting on Monday, shooters keep shooting, and he's due to make a lot coming up. So gotta hope that's true. We didn't see it at this point last year, but gotta hope with another year experience that'll happen. Camden Heide, 2 points off the bench. Caleb Furst, 0. Mason Gillis, 8 points, including 2 for 5 from behind the arc.
Huge 3 with 2 minutes to go.
He missed some bunnies. He was 3 for 9 for the game.
Yeah.
But Ethan Morton, 0 points. Caleb Furst there, 0 points. He only got 2 minutes of action. Ray Davis asked here on Facebook, what is Caleb Furst's role going forward?
I guess if you mean, Ray can clarify, but I assume you mean like going forward in the next year, I would think. I think he's your starting 5, at least going into the year, just from experience. I think he will do a lot better in a more expanded role. It's tough for these guys to come in, cold, play for 2-minute, 3-minute stretches, and then come back out. It's really hard to do much of anything. I thought he's done a good job this year of bringing the energy, playing hard. I mean, yeah, he's missed some shots, but I thought he's rebounded pretty decently. But I think he's your 5.
He's the best jumper on the team. Well, besides Camden Heide, I guess I should.
I think
Caleb is the best jumper besides him.
6'10", 6'11". He's got some really good athleticism. I think he'd be a great pick and pop guy for next year. Obviously, we've got you got Will Berg, you've got Daniel Jason coming in who may or may not redshirt, depending on the need. But I think him at the
Burgess.
I think Raleigh's kind of
he's more of a.
I think he's a Caleb 2.0 in a way. Like he kind of he seems to play that kind of fit that role of like high energy guy has the ability. She might be a little better shooter than Caleb. I'm not 100% sure. But I think your starting 4 and 5 is Trey at the 4 and Caleb at the 5. And so obviously Trey will probably be more of a. I think actually Trey will even be more post heavy, but you can use Caleb in the pick and pop and pick and roll. So I think that's going to be where he's. Hopefully. I like Caleb a lot. I think got a great attitude, great energy for the team. But I think he's one of those guys who just needs a little bit more expanded role, which you're not going to get when you've got Zach Edey with the conditioning of a god at that size and being able to play 30-some minutes.
Yeah. People don't talk about that enough. I don't think is the condition level Edey's in.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
And I kind of compare it to the Joker in the NBA. I finally heard Draymond Green, of all people, give him props the other night, saying how much of a freak athlete conditioning wise Joker's in.
Because you look at the Joker and he's like, he
looks like he's flabby, but
he's pudgy. He looks pudgy, and he looks like he's just the guy at the Y. If you didn't know he was 7 foot or whatever, it's like he's just the guy who probably goes a little beer before the game and all that, but then he gets out there and just absolutely works you.
He runs like a deer for a guy his size.
Yeah, and Zach, he's not the fastest guy, but the fact that he just plays. He played. At Michigan, he played 38 minutes. 38 minutes, and didn't look tired. It's insane. I don't understand. Yeah.
Still doesn't get enough credit for his defensive ability, in my opinion. I think he's taken a huge step this year compared to last year.
There's a couple times he got switched on to Doug, and I was like, I wasn't all that worried.
No. He doesn't block shots like Matt Harms used to, or even Isaac Haas to an extent, but he alters shots more than those guys do.
Oh yeah, and it's also just, and I know Cobra Stats has said this before, but just like the impact he has on just teams trying to go to the rim. Like I think at one point I know this year it was when Edey was in the game versus out of the game. People were taking their shots at the rim 10% higher when he was out of the game versus when he was in the game. They're not going to go because they know that you've got a 7'4" mountain waiting for you.
Yes. So let's talk about Edey a little more. He's gonna win National Player of the Year for second consecutive year.
Knock on wood,
Ralph Sampson did it 3 years in a row back in the 80s or 70s, 80s, I think. But
I talked about this with Aaron last week, and I completely forgot already.
I think it's 80s. But there's a narrative out there on X, formerly known as Twitter, from a certain fan base that we've had pleasant or not so pleasant run-ins with in the past, especially in the Music City Bowl, um, which Purdue won, but asking guys like Paul Feinbaum, they'll have a different take on the game.
Yeah.
That is the University of Tennessee fan base is really trying to make their stud player, um,
Don't
Kolek,
connect.
Connect.
Don't
Yeah,
connect. Yeah.
Connect. Thank you. They're trying to make a case that he's National Player of the Year, which he's a great player, but I don't think there's any case over Zach.
No. I mean, looking at like the top contenders for Player of the Year, I think there's a pretty big gap between Edey in the second place. I'm not sure who you put. I mean, you can honestly make a case that Terrence Shannon's probably playing like second best player in the country right now, for the most part.
Helps when you get talk about friendly whistle. But yeah,
yeah. If we want to talk about that, yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched the game last night, and every time he drove the ball, he got to the line. RJ Davis for Carolina has been playing incredible basketball this year. Hunter Dickinson, he's been.
He's such a punk. He's such a punk.
But he's putting up good numbers as he does.
He's
and obviously Dalton Connect. I mean, Dalton Connect put up 39 last night against Auburn.
Yeah, he can fill it up. We've seen it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he's probably the best wing player in college, which is crazy because he was playing at Northern Colorado last year. I think he was second team all conference last year, which is insane. Thank God he didn't go to Indiana because supposedly he at least he talked to him at least, but Tennessee dropped the bag as they tend to do. Probably in McDonald's bag. But I mean, he's an incredible player. He could be a top 5 pick. He might be the best college prospect coming out. I'm not sure about the guys like in G League Ignite and all that kind of stuff. I don't really pay attention to that, but
Europe.
Europe as well. But when you look at I know Andrew did this in our group chat last night, and 39 points is incredible. He had 2 rebounds and no assists. He's a great scorer, 100%. Yeah. When we look at like National Player of the Year, it's more than just scoring. And there was a tweet that went out, so that was great. Ohio State won by 9, by the way. Yeah, it was at Edey Muse put out a tweet. It was, since certain fan bases like to say Edey isn't Player of the Year, let's look at season stats for the top 4. You got Edey, who is averaging 23, almost just under 24 points a game, just under 12 rebounds a game, just under 2 blocks. What else here? Or maybe it's assists, blocks, and like less than 1 steal. Dalton Connect's averaging just under 21 points, just about 5 rebounds, 2 assists. What is that? 1 block, and less than 1 steal. RJ Davis, 21.7 points, 4 assists, less than 4 assists, less than 3 rebounds, less than 4 rebounds, less than 4 assists. Essentially no blocks, 1 steal a game, and Hunter Dickinson 18-10. So he's the only guy averaging a double-double, 2, 1, and 1. So when you look at it, and then Captain Boiler on Twitter said in the 5 major statistical categories, there's only 1 player who's in the country who's top 5 in more than 1. And guess who that is, Tanner?
Big Z.
Yeah, Big Z. So, I mean, there's obviously a lot of great players out there, but yeah, it's when it comes to like the major categories, Z's just about as well rounded as you can be.
I truly think, maybe I'll be wrong here, but I think Zach's going to be a first-round pick in the NBA draft, and he must think so because breaking news this week, big news, which wasn't really that big, John. Zach Edey is not coming back next year to Purdue, which he could have came back for a 5th year if he wanted to with the COVID rules, but he is not coming back. He's going to pursue the NBA, which can't blame the big man.
No, not at all.
If he did come back, my goodness, the bag he would have got.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like Dalton Connect is going back to him. Braden Smith is averaging more rebounds than him, and Braden is 6 inches shorter. Yep. So it's just like
the will and want to go get it.
A great scorer, he's going to have probably a better pro career. Like more than likely, he's going to get drafted higher. But when you look at overall Player of the Year, which is what the Player of the Year award is for, it's no contest. It's Zach Edey, and it's insane to think about.
And I was gonna make the argument for improvement from 1 year to the next, staying on the same team, yada yada yada. But then devil's advocate could come against me. Well, this dude played Northern Colorado and then upped his game against better competition the next year. So I could lose that argument, I guess, if I made that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can argue that he may even be the best player in the SEC with like Sears from Alabama. I mean,
Yeah.
he puts up stupid numbers too. Again, it's all scoring, but if you want to get in that argument, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of great players out there, but there's one that
And,
stands head and
you
shoulders,
know,
literally and figuratively above
Tennessee
everybody.
fans, if they want to bring March into the March Madness into the conversation, which it doesn't matter. March Madness doesn't matter for
Yeah,
player of the year stuff.
player of
It
the year.
probably should, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
But if they wanted to, Rick Barnes hadn't got it done at
no,
Tennessee in March. So,
Tennessee's never made a Final Four,
yep.
which is crazy to think about.
And Rick Barnes made one. He made it in Texas in 03
Texas, yeah,
forward. We
yeah.
lost to them. We've talked about that on past podcasts. We lost them in the second round that year. But,
Hmm.
I mean, he hasn't really had double-digit seed upsets as often, but he hasn't got done in March either. So,
Hmm.
Ray here on Facebook. On a side note, your thoughts are players breaking records because of their
COVID year.
COVID year, using their COVID
Yeah.
year. Yeah, no, that's a pretty fascinating conversation.
I mean, case
Football
in
and
point, Boo
basketball.
Booey. I mean, case in point, Boo
Yes,
Booey.
yes.
Uh,
I mean, it is what it is. They put the rule
yeah,
in place, so you got a record's a record. But no,
yeah,
I do kind of. I mean, when you're seeing guys play 6-7 years,
yeah.
it's
I mean, you see it in all forms. I mean, like
good,
NFL, you have not, and there's more games now, so there's more opportunities for these
good point.
guys to
Good
do
point.
that, or even just like, um, guys breaking passing records. Like, well, I mean, in today's game, it's much
Yeah,
different than it was even 20 years ago in terms of that. 3-point shooting. I mean, when Steph broke Reggie's record, or Ray Allen's record, sorry, who broke Reggie's record. Like, it's
yeah.
just the game is completely different. But it's
Good point.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, especially because like COVID. I mean, the one thing you can make about an argument with COVID is it's such a finite number of years. Like, it's not like this is going to happen forever, where people are going to be able to play six.
Thank
At least I don't
goodness
think
it's
it's gonna.
almost over.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, 20 years later, like, we're not going to really think about it. I mean, you can look at it too, like with. I mean, even you can make the case, even though it's not going to be a COVID year, but like Zach versus Rick Mount, if Zach were to break Rick Mount's scoring record, it's like, Zach wasn't taken, he did that, but he played 4 years. Rick Mount did it in 3.
Without a 3-point line.
Yeah, which there's only Zach's only done that once so far. But yeah, it's just like they're all incredible. Like, the fact people are able to do it, and I mean, yeah, it's insane.
I mean, and I understand why people compare and contrast, sports legends, or
Mhm.
the conversation for who's Purdue's best basketball player ever, because it makes for great conversation. It makes for good
Oh yeah,
content for a podcast like this, but it's so hard to do, like you said, because the evolution of sports, rules, how the game's played, football, basketball, whatever, it just
yeah.
changes over time. But we're always going to have those conversations no matter what. So
I just thought of this because when I was last week when I helped on your other podcast with our good friend Josh,
Mhm.
he asked me a question, which was a really good question. If you could take any former Purdue player and put them on this team outside of maybe like the obvious, like first team All Big Ten and first team All Americans, who would you pick to put on this team?
Mhm. I wasn't ready for this question tonight. Um,
Good.
so okay, so I can't say Biggie, I can't say Jawan, Etwan,
Yeah,
Robbie, because they're first team guys.
or Jaden, or even
Yeah.
Robbie. Like, yeah,
Um, hmm. They don't need a Lewis Jackson or speed like that. They kind of
yeah.
got that in Braden. Don't
Mhm.
really need a Keaton Grant, even though I like to say Keaton Grant a lot of times because I think Lance Jones is kind of Keaton Grant like.
Yeah, I would
Maybe
agree. Yeah,
maybe he has more of a trigger than Keaton, but
Ray's got the answer.
that's exactly who I was thinking, Chris
That's who I
Kramer.
picked.
But
Yeah,
the scary thing with Chris to me on this year's team is with the rules of how basketball's played now
yeah,
compared to when
yes,
Chris
yes,
played,
yeah. That is true.
he couldn't be
Yes,
as aggressive as he was, or he'd foul out pretty
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
But no,
My
I
thought,
was getting there. I was thinking
yeah,
Kramer.
Kramer, just because you could have that, the if there's a huge Achilles heel to this team, it's going up against a team with a really good dynamic guard. We've seen it with Boo Booey. We've seen it in the past, like with Jalen Hood Shafino, and like being able to have someone who's that shut down, like put them on them. It's gonna, like, we're gonna at least, like, maybe not shut them down completely, but at least like make them maybe less efficient. Like, I think Kramer's the guy.
I got a good one who's good at offense and defense. David Teague.
Ooh,
because he could shoot the rock
At
too.
that 3 position too?
Yeah,
Ooh, man, that's a
yeah,
good one.
yeah. Because I
He's
was trying to think.
long.
I would have loved
That's a
Landry,
good
but
one.
Landry was the first team Big Ten because
Yeah.
Landry's a horse at 6'7".
I
But Trey
think
Kaufman earned
about
it. Yeah,
David,
but I
yeah.
think David Teague might be my guy because
Ooh,
he was a
that's a
pretty good
good one.
defender and he could shoot.
Yeah,
So
I forgot how good of a defender he
he
was.
was.
Yeah.
He was a very underrated defender. So yeah, I'm gonna go with
Damn.
David a little over Chris Kramer. Now that I think
Yeah.
about it, but either I'd take either one of those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a hell of a question. Glad you brought that up because that's a good question. Did you ask him the same thing for Illinois by chance?
Yeah, it was Chester Frazier for the exact same reason I picked Kramer.
Of course
Yeah.
he loves to talk about Chester Frazier, but
Yeah, it was
which was Chester's
easy.
still an assistant coach for Illinois. I believe.
Yeah, because it was like I think Boo Boo was a great example of like Boo Boo did nothing against Illinois when Chester was there, and as soon as Chester left, he lit him up.
It's crazy he was playing against Chester Frazier.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man, no, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, Purdue's got a chance to do something fun on Saturday. Oh, Ray's got another good one.
Ray Davis, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, especially like senior year Ray Davis, like when he could actually shoot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit more. He's closer to the rules nowadays, so that's a really good one. I didn't think about Ray. I just love Chris Kramer. So
yeah. I probably still got to go with him as my favorite boiler of all time. Even though I got to tell you, Mason Gillis is climbing. He's climbing pretty fast for me. I know he's probably not going to be a boiler next year. I'm afraid if he wants to play another year of basketball, I think he'll be somewhere else. But man, I wish he could come back and Purdue could find a way to keep him one more year because he's a boiler. He's the definition of a boilermaker. So
it's I feel that way with like I've said like at times that Jaden I think might be my favorite, but I think it's Robbie for me. It's always been Robbie. I think Jaden's right there, and then Zach is making a hell of a case.
This team's got a lot of likable dudes.
Yeah,
that's what's fun. Speaking of fun, Purdue's got something opportunity to do something real fun Saturday night, and that's with a win over Michigan State, they can clinch at least a share of their 26th Big Ten title, Big Ten record 26th Big Ten title, which I could hear a lot of fans out there, oh, who cares about Big Ten championships? Well, they still mean a lot. That's got to be one of your team's first goals because if you win your conference championship, you're going to be a pretty good seed in the NCAA tournament, which gives you more advantage to go Final Four, national championship, what have you. So I still think conference championships are relevant and meaningful. I've always kind of thought maybe the tournament championships maybe aren't as much, but they're still nice to win, but maybe they're not.
Oh yeah, I mean, every time there's a championship to win, you go win it.
Yeah,
I think maybe it's because Purdue just hasn't done well in the Big Ten tournament for the most part since its existence. But I also just feel like it hasn't really helped. Like outside of like a couple years, like 07 or 06, 07 was a year that we needed to win, beat Iowa, lost to Ohio State. Like that, I think it's helpful for more of those teams that are playing now on Thursday.
I agree.
If you're on Friday, like you're probably more than likely you're in the turn. I hope.
If you get double bye in the Big Ten, you're
in. Unless
which Purdue has done every year except the bubble, the year they got canceled, the COVID year.
Unless you're the 4 seed, you beat the 1. And then you beat the 2, maybe that can bump you up a line, but like we've seen like in the past where Purdue, winning that was like a projected as a 4 seed, won the tournament, ended as a 4 seed, or lost the championship game, stayed a 4 seed, stayed a 3 seed, maybe it bumps you up like a little bit in that seed line, maybe I don't know, but like it just something hasn't really hurt or helped Purdue all that much, and it's always
the Big Ten's the last game right before the selection too.
Right.
So by that time they probably already have their mind made up, which I sometimes wish the Big Ten would be like Saturday night or earlier on Sunday. But I also like the whole country watching the Big Ten game heading into the selection shows.
Yeah. I think, and I saw the thing last year where they said that they should make the mid-major conferences, the ones that like the one bid league, they should make those because can you imagine watching the Missouri Valley, watching Indiana State trying to, because if they don't win their tournament, they may not get in this year because they've had some, questionable losses. They win, they're in, go into selection Sunday. That'd be incredible. That would be cool for them because they're going to be, a lot of those are going to be starting next week when, Big Ten, a lot of the conferences are still in their conference play. But that'd be pretty cool. But it's TV's not going to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, they're not. No, they're not. But Purdue hosts the Spartans Saturday night, 8 o'clock, Fox national television game. Only game this week for both teams. So both teams have had the week off to rest and prepare, which always makes it interesting. Like I said, since February in 1999, Purdue has 19 wins, 26 losses against the Spartans. But in the last 10 games, Purdue has won 7 of them. Purdue has won the last, let's count them here, 1, 2, 3,
So when was the
4,
last loss?
5, 6 games at Mackey. Last 6 have been won by Purdue. You got to go back to Thursday, February 20th, 2014 for Michigan State's last win in Mackey. Purdue's last loss to Michigan State overall was Saturday, February 26, 2022. 68-65 loss up in East Lansing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a close game. And then the loss prior to that, not prior
was that
to
one
that.
of those? I mean, that was a stretch where Purdue kept losing by like last second threes. That was one of those? Yeah, I think I was at home watching with my dad.
Miles Bridges hit one against Purdue February 10th, 2018.
I was watching that with Andrew at his apartment.
65. But then 2018-19 team, Purdue got whooped 77-59 up in East Lansing. I think Carson had an awful game that game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I think that was January 8th. So that was in the stretch where I was hating that team. And then that team got hot. Yeah. Then that team got hot.
Before we figured it out. Yeah.
Because they would go on and beat Purdue later in the month, January 27th, 73-63. And that really got Purdue going on this run that they've been on against East Lansing. I mean, even in the year Purdue struggled, the 2019-2020 season, Purdue beat Michigan State at home 71-42.
Whooped them. Yeah, I was at that game. Yeah, that was. Ray was at the 2014 game. Yeah, I know I was, unfortunately.
You remember the it would have been January 8th, 2021 game up at East Lansing? I don't remember this game. Purdue won 55-54.
Yes, because it was COVID year, so like there's no one there. Travion hit a shot because it was a Friday night because we have a thing where we'd like to go to a local or restaurant or Mexican restaurant close to our house every Friday. Typically, we haven't done it in a while, but we were there. And she put the game on her phone for me because I kept checking my phone.
I was like,
when Travion hit it, I was trying to because that was the year I was just like, who cares? Like, I'm just happy we have basketball. Like, we didn't know what this team was going to be because they were so young. And then like that game went to the wire, and I was like, holy crap! I was trying not to make a scene at this.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that game. And then last trip to East Lansing for Purdue, since they didn't go there this year, so Martin Luther King Day last year, 2023. Zach Edey hit one at the end of 64-63.
Beautiful pass by Fletcher to set up that late. Like that was kind of like when it was just like, okay, Zach he was already kind of safe, but like when he did that, I was like, okay, this kid is on a tear.
But you got to go clear back to the 2014-15 season. Purdue only played Michigan State once. It was up in East Lansing. Michigan State won by 6. That was the last year Purdue didn't beat Michigan State at all. So. Oh, wow. Because even when we lost at Michigan State in 21-22 by 3 points, we faced them later in the Big Ten tournament in Indy and won 75-70. So yeah, you got to go back a ways to find a year that Purdue did not beat Michigan State at all. So you can argue. At least you can argue that this has been on par with the IU-Purdue rivalry,
if not bigger, just because of the stakes within the conference. I mean, I know this game's usually like, again, 1A, 1B at Mackey. Like the game, like if you're going to go to one game, it's either Indiana, Michigan State. I think for last year, I mean, especially before last 2 years before Indiana beat us, it was like that was kind of the game to go to because that was going to be probably the biggest test. It was probably going to be for a top spot in the Big Ten, if not the Big Ten championship. It's always really fun to yell at Izzo because he's going to be on the court. He's going to be stomping his little feet. But I mean, definitely. It's one of those teams where it's like, and you can, Michigan State as a whole university with stuff that's happened off the court, off the field. Like there's some stuff that makes almost makes me hate them more than Indiana just because of what they've done to people. Like, Indiana, it's a sports thing. That's really all it ever is. But with Michigan State, it's like it's personal in the way of like you're ruining people's lives and certain things. So it's always easier to hate them. And just Izzo's making stupid comments at certain things. Yeah, it's actually funny because my dad has season tickets and he has two. So usually it's, a rotation between me, my sister, his wife, and other people, going to games. So I remember I told my dad, I was like, if I can go to any game before the end of the year, I want it to be Wisconsin. It's senior day, last time seeing Edie, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, Michigan State sucks. It's not going to matter. I was like, we're going to have the Big Ten wrapped up by then. And I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going this Saturday.
Yeah. Especially with the T-shirt drop with the design.
T-shirt incredible.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
They're play hard in the stands. Like,
really cool.
They did it smart this year. But yeah, that's going to be – I know Michigan State's not the team that they're predicted to be at the start of the year. But man, Big Ten title on the line, that Mackey's going to be.
Well, there's tickets available. I got right here on StubHub.
Yeah, for like $250.
Hey, lower than that. The lowest ticket
really?
right now. There's for 2 to 4 tickets as of right now. There's for 2 to 4. There's one at 183 a piece. There's a single available for 196. Then it's up to 200 for everything.
Yeah, I was looking at SeatGeek since that's the partner with Purdue. But yeah, I looked the other day and it was like 220, 230 was like the cheapest. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be rocking. Like I said, Fox and it'll be Gus Johnson, probably Jim Jackson. They're not my favorites, but I got through it against Indiana. I mean, they weren't too bad. I think it helps now that Purdue's been so good. Gus is kind of liking them more than he used to.
Yeah, and I mean, a win, Purdue wins, clinches. But if Purdue could go into the game already clinched, if Wisconsin, who is on a absolute free fall, no parachute. They host Illinois on Saturday at 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon. So Purdue could go into that game already having the title in hand, but could win it outright which again, if that's the case, that's going to turn Mackey up to 11. It's going to be.
Oh, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be cranked up anyways. It was cranked up for the Indiana game.
Yeah,
it's going to be cranked up. Something about Saturday night game. They don't happen too often. So
no.
But it'll be hopping. And I know a lot of Purdue fans out there. Oh God, here comes Michigan State because they're going to be desperate. Which they probably will be desperate because they need it. Yeah. But you just got to be in the mentality as a Purdue fan. You can't be scared of anybody. This team can beat anybody if they take care of the ball. And Michigan State at home, you got to take care of business.
I do wonder because this Michigan State team is. Unlike probably any, what we're used to as Michigan State teams, they don't have a dominant big. Tyson Walker, if there's any cause for concern, it's Tyson Walker going off. But outside of him, you can make a case because he's a scoring guard, compared to Braden. But outside of him, I feel like Purdue's got a better guy at every other position. Mm-hmm. The last couple of times they've played Edie, they've single coveraged him. If that's the case, he's going to. Hopefully go for 40. I want
to see him get that 40 burger.
Yeah. I do wonder because their last game against Ohio State, which they lost, they did start Xavier Booker, product of Indy, who hasn't really played a whole lot this year. Came in as a 5-star, big stretch 5, can stretch the floor. I do wonder if maybe because he didn't play down the stretch against Ohio State. He started off the game pretty good for them, but then Izzo took him out.
Yeah.
I do wonder if maybe they have week of practice figured out. I do wonder if maybe he does start him again and just to give Tyson some space and force Edie because they'll play more than likely. I think Malik Hall plays the 4, which sometimes when they've got a stretch 5 who can shoot, they'll switch Trey and Edie, but you can't really put Edie on Malik Hall. It's worse than probably playing him on Booker. But we'll see. But if Booker has to guard Edie's going to eat his lunch.
He might get fouls quick. So
that's kind of it'll be interesting to see the battle of attrition that happens in this game. Izzo's a hell of a coach.
He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of Big Ten coaches all time. He can't.
100%. No, yeah, absolutely.
He's not. But do you think Tom's losing it a little bit?
I think he's just too stubborn. He's like you said, he's a Hall of Fame. He is a Hall of Fame coach already. On the Mount Rushmore of Big Ten coaches.
He's probably number 2 Big Ten coach of all time. Probably.
Yeah, probably. And I do wonder, because it's weird because he's the guy, he hates the transfer portal,
Yes.
but Tyson Walker is a transfer. Joey Hauser last year, who helped that team out a lot, was a transfer. So it's interesting to see that. I mean, I know coming into the year they brought in a ton of talent on the freshman class, and I know there's some things like with Jeremiah Fears and his unfortunate situation where he had a gunshot wound over Christmas break. Like he hasn't been able to play this whole second half of the season. Cohen Carr is an absolute athletic freak. Outside of that, I'm not sure what all he does. I haven't really watched a ton of Michigan State. Xavier Booker has been, has had a lot of DNPs, coaches' decisions throughout this year. So that freshman class hasn't really lived up to what people were hoping they would be. But it'll be interesting to see because they do lose a lot after this year. So if Izzo, assuming he comes back, does he retire? Does all that, all that kind of stuff? He'll have to go to the transfer portal and that's a team that they've got the NIL. I mean, they're the Suns owner is a Michigan State alum and booster. So it's they're going to have plenty to offer. See, there's the prestige of that, that of the basketball school for sure. So they can definitely get talent if they want it in the portal. It's just a matter of if Izzo's is willing to do it, which would be interesting. Because I think he's just kind of a stubborn man at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's 70, if not 70, he's close to 70. You got to wonder how many more years he's got left in the tank. But I'm not bringing up just because of struggles this year. They haven't been the same Michigan State team the last couple of years.
No, no, they haven't.
So, yeah.
Will Izzo play zone?
I doubt it. Yeah, probably not. Too stubborn.
Yeah.
But, all right, with all that talk, Webby, let's go ahead and predict the game, predict the score, and our MVP of the game.
Purdue has a knack for scoring 84 points for some reason. So I'm going to go 84-67. I hope this is the case because I feel I hope, Michigan State's not within striking distance at the end because you never know with Tyson Walker. He's a guy who can go off. Hopefully they can take care of business. Purdue, like I said, we've seemed to own, Izzo at Mackey as of late. Big Ten title in line. I think these guys are going to be focused and hungry. I feel like hopefully not coming out too tight. In the end game, I can tell they're just really amped. Hopefully they can, settle down in this game. But just hopefully Mackey, I'm going to say Edey's an obvious one because I want to see he gets 40 and 20. This is hopefully just wishful thinking, but I'm going to go Fletcher Lawyer. He finds his groove. He hits 3 threes and just gets back on the right track.
I'm going Purdue 88, Michigan State 72. I think Zach will have a great game, but I'm not going with him. I just think that's a cheat code every time.
Yeah.
I think Braden finally gets a triple-double.
Okay.
That's my MVP and my bold prediction. Yep.
Finally. You and Ray are thinking on the same page because Ray's got a Purdue 81-59 with MVP of Mr. Braden Smith. Great minds think alike.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's go around the other games in the Big Ten this weekend. Let me pull them up here. Hopefully my phone has enough juice to last. Rutgers is up 28-14 right now. Michigan, by the way.
Rutgers takes their business.
Illinois at Wisconsin, 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Oh, man, I am pulling for Wisconsin. Especially if I was watching the Minnesota, that Minnesota-Illinois game was fun to watch last night because there was
105-97.
It was zero defense. I mean, Minnesota was at 1.5 points per possession, which is essentially what Purdue did against Rutgers, which was an absurd number, and they lost. I'm pulling for Wisconsin because my wife last night, she's like, I've never really seen you cheer this hard against Illinois. I was like, well, there's a big reason why I'm cheering against them. I think Illinois gets it done, unfortunately.
Ray says Illinois 82-64. I think Illinois gets it done as well. I'll be pulling for the Badgers. But 3:15 on Saturday, Penn State at Minnesota.
Could be another fun one. Both teams with pretty good offenses. I'm going to take Minnesota. Just
I like Minnesota at home. Iowa at Northwestern. Both teams with big wins for themselves earlier this week. Iowa's trying to crawl back into the bubble.
I just wonder. I mean, Iowa can score in bunches. So Minnesota and Northwestern, but Northwestern without Ty Berry, you just wonder. But I think just because, which I hate doing, but I think because they're home, I'm picking Northwestern.
I'll take Iowa to be.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if Iowa comes out of there with a win. I mean, it's not terribly far, so you never know.
Sunday, CBS. I'm sure CBS wished they had a take back here. Indiana at Maryland.
Oh man, Indiana did win the first matchup in Bloomington.
And they won
I
last
think
night against Wisconsin.
they did, yeah.
Tuesday night. Tuesday night.
Sunday. Was it Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
I saw it was tweeted. It was because there was the whole fire alarm or something. So there was one report of a fire alarm. One report was there was smoke in an elevator, and someone goes, "Yeah, the fire alarm was set off by Woody's hot seat." I think Maryland gets it done.
I do too. I think Maryland gets it done. I mean, now you got one over Wisconsin, but I was at home. Don't know if they can get one on the road. Another one, CBS. What's better? Michigan at Ohio State. Ohio State is playing better, and I think they take care of business here. I mean, they're on a low roll.
They win by double digits. I think they win by double digits. Yeah.
And then close the weekend off or the week off for the Big Ten. Rutgers at Nebraska.
Nebraska's a juggernaut at home, so I'm taking the Huskers.
100%. 100%. Well, we might as well look ahead next week. I'm presuming we probably won't record before this game on Tuesday. Purdue at Illinois, 7 o'clock on the Peacock Tuesday night. This game has scared me for like a month.
It's scared me ever since we beat them the first time.
Yeah.
Although, what gives me, in the first matchup, Purdue did get up like 20 points, and they did kind of take their foot off the gas. Illinois did come back. It's obviously gives them a lot of credit. The game got really weird at the end with the flagrant foul on Jones on the box out. There was some really weird stuff. So it's like that does. Obviously they didn't have Terrence Shannon, so there is that. They're not playing defense right now, which is
no.
I was actually their Ken Palm. I texted our group chat about this. I didn't say this specifically, but their Ken Palm numbers are almost identical to Purdue 2 years ago, where the offense was like third in the country and we were like 95th in defense or something like that. I think it actually is going to be kind of similar to the game from 2 years ago. It was the double overtime game on Martin Luther King Day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Purdue 83-81 is going to be a tight one.
I'll take Purdue 85-79 with Lance Jones being my MVP, Illinois boy.
Yep. So he didn't play well against at least at Northwestern, so he gets his revenge.
Yep. So looking forward to it. It's unbelievable to think we are really close to being done with the regular season. It went by in a blink of the eye.
Yes, I told you guys this, but I was listening to a Boyle Sports podcast a couple of weeks ago, or even like last week. It was kind of like their basketball beat. They were kind of talking about like end of the year stuff, and like it kind of really hit me of like, oh my god, this season is almost over. Like obviously, I'm very glad I wasn't one of those people who kind of wished away the season. Just like I just gotta get to March. That have not been me. It's probably been the most fun I've had watching about a Purdue team, which is funny because I feel like I've said that the last like 2 or 3 years.
We've been pretty spoiled for a regular season play the last couple of years. Yeah.
But it's because once March hits, it's nothing's guaranteed. The only thing that is guaranteed is Purdue's got 3 or 4. We got the rest of the Big Ten, at least one game in the Big Ten tournament, at least one game in the NCAA tournament. It just because that's because it's whenever it gets to the tournament, I'm never at least not recently. I feel like I've never been mad when Purdue gets bounced from the tournament. I'm always just like really, really sad just because it's just like it's over. I
was mad the last 2 years.
There's some circumstances in my life that was a little different why I wasn't as mad. It kind of puts some things in perspective, but it's just like I remember like the Jaden Ivey year because I love watching Jaden. I was just like when they lost to St. Peter's, I was just like, damn, it's over. Like I'm never gonna watch this team ever again. Like this specific team, never ever again, and that really sucks because it's such a fun group to watch and cheer for. I can't believe it's almost over. Hopefully we have another month.
Yep. I hope so. But we'll be here along with everybody for the rest of the ride, and hopefully it's a long one. Hopefully it continues. So, but let's talk about the 2 sponsors that make this podcast possible. The first one is Mad Mushroom. Boiler Breakdown is brought to you by Mad Mushroom, serving Boilermakers since 1993. Mad Mushroom is located in the heart of West Lafayette and is well known as the home of the original cheese sticks. Whenever Evan, Andrew, or myself visit, we like to sit down, have an ice cold beer while trying out their latest pizza of the month. Which, you got to be in the know here. You got to sometimes you got to reach out to Mad Mush, even though it's not the month yet. Say, hey, do you mind giving me what the pizza of the month is? Day ahead of time, so I can let everybody know
Okay.
tonight.
I thought we were gonna do a whole thing of like, if you're listening to this live, it's the only chance this is the last time you're gonna get the February
No,
one.
I
Because
could
it's
do that. I mean, you can
if you're
still
listening
do
to
that.
this on Wednesday, if you're listening to this on Friday, you're screwed. It's done.
You can still
Over.
do that if you want the Raging Cajun. You can still get the Raging Cajun, but the March pizza of the month. I don't have the graphic. The graphic wasn't working with StreamYard tonight for whatever reason, but I have it over here on my other screen. So it is a chicken caprese. That is the pizza of the month. It's a blended tomato sauce, chicken, chopped garlic, fresh spinach, grated Parmesan cheese, mozzarella cheese, and fresh mozzarella pearls, finished with basil and a balsamic glaze drizzle, starting at $14.
Dang.
$14. So next time you are in town, stop in, tell them the Boiler Breakdown sent you for $5 off any order over $20, or any Boiler Breakdown listener or viewer can use the coupon code BREAK5. That's all caps, BREAK5. Claim your discount online at madmushroom.com. Mad Mushroom, feed your head. Perfect meal for Saturday night dinner before the game. Hell, during the game, after the game to celebrate, whatever you want to do. Pizza, grinders, wings, pasta.
Cheese
They got
sticks.
it all. Cheese sticks. If you're in at Mad Mush, beer.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't forget the cheese sticks. So, with the cheese sticks, the hardest thing is the dipping sauce. What dipping sauce am I going to get? Am I going to get cheese? Am I going to get butter? Am I going to get ranch? Am I going to load the cheese sticks up? Am I going to put bacon on them? I mean, I'm hungry just think about it, Webby. I'm hungry just think.
I know.
So, can't go wrong with Mad Mush. Hit them up Saturday night. Order over $20 worth of food, drinks, all the above. Tell them Boiler Breakdown sent you, or use discount code BREAK5 online and get that $5 off.
Shout out to Matt Mush for being actually a loyal follower too. I mean, they sponsored.
Yes,
actually followed because they called out they didn't really called out, but they what was it? I can't remember what game it was, but Tanner likes to tweet. When Braden Smith is on his usual tear, likes to tweet out Braden Smith is good at basketball, and Mad Mush beat him to the punch. And
yes, they did.
And I laughed so hard.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So I like to do that. Who did I do it with? Did I do somebody with football this year? I'll have to go back and see. I don't know if I did. I've done it with football before, but I don't remember who it was.
Maybe Burks, maybe Dylan Thieneman.
Oh, in the past it was David Bell. That was a couple of years ago. David Bell was the easy one.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find somebody in football to do it for every game. Maybe it'll be Kyron Jenkins or no, Dylan Thieneman. That's who it's gonna be. That's who it's gonna be. Because that dude's a baller. So
was it Mockabee? Maybe
it might have been Mockabee. Gosh, I can't remember. I'll have to go back in my tweets one of these days and look and figure it out. So yeah. But we got one more sponsor to tell everybody about, and that is the shop.
We got the shop. So they've been making making shirts since 2011. Started out in garage. And they've got their 3 locations. Their 3rd location in downtown, and just opened up right before the All-Star game. So that was perfect timing on their part. They make incredible shirts, makes everybody happy. I went out the weekend of the All-Star game. I went out and copped this Play Hard Gene Katie shirts, which is one I've been wanting for a while. I bought a shirt for the All-Star weekend. Not that I went. I just wanted to have something for the All-Star because it was pretty cool for Indy to host the All-Star game. They did an incredible job despite the weather. Can't use our promo code in store. And then, of course, 2 days after I bought this stuff, they had a huge 20% off sale for President's Day, and I missed out. But hey, support the people who help us.
Yes.
But whether they've got shirts for all universities across Indiana, the 2 best universities right now in the state of Purdue and Indiana State making a run. They've got stuff. I said they've got a Larry Bird 33 shirt that I'm really thinking about getting at some point. It's a pretty sweet powder blue shirt. But DePaul, Butler, Indiana,
Ball State,
Wabash, Ball State, DePaul. They just announced too that they're making the shirts for the Horizon League tournament, which is awesome.
Cool.
That's hosted in Indy. That's awesome. But yeah, check them out. You can go there, or if you can't make it to, they've got 3 locations: one downtown Indy, one in Carmel. That's the first time I actually went to their new Carmel location. I started to drive to their old Carmel location. Completely forgot they moved. And they also have one in Broad Ripple. But can't.
That.
What?
I was gonna say that's one I've been to, but it wasn't. It was their
Carmel.
newer location. Yeah.
Carmel. Yeah. But if you can't make it to Indy, to go there in-store locations, you can go to the shopindy.com. And if you use promo code breakdown, you get 25% off your first order.
But there's a lot going on in Indy this weekend. It's NFL Combine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Combine itself, Evan and I have been to once. It's not the most fun thing, but the events around it's fun. You never know what personalities or former NFL players, execs you're going to see. And Tyron Tracy, Purdue's own, is the lone Purdue guy invited at the Combine. So maybe if you're in and around Indy and walking around, go check out the shop's newest location and maybe run into some people. Never know.
Absolutely.
All right, Webby, unless you have anything else to add, let's boiler up, hammer down, and beat Izzo and those Spartans.
Absolutely, boiler up.